The second set of fundamentals is that there are 5 key elements in any campaign. The first I've already talked about, which is the candidate. And I think in most campaigns, the candidate is about 75% of the equation. I used to think that you could elect anybody if you ran the right campaign. I don't believe that anymore. I believe that you have to have the strongest possible candidate who trains themselves well in the art of politics and campaigning so that they are both authentic and real to the voters, but also can present a compelling message to the voters and listen to them carefully and repeat back part of what they're hearing so that people know that you're not a deaf candidate, or at least not a tone-deaf candidate. So, qualities that make a candidate viable: leadership skills, experience or expertise, and that doesn't mean political experience or expertise. It means that you've had the ability to solve some problem or work through a set of challenging experiences in your own life, and that you've succeeded at it. And then finally, that you have the courage and the strength and the resiliency to get up every day and want to do this, and want to get to wherever it is that you're trying to get to, whether it's the state senate or whether it's the state house or whether it's the commission or whatever that might be. You've got to care enough about it to actually do all of the things that are required to get there. The second key element is an organization. And I mean, by organization, I mean the central nervous system of a campaign. I mean a group of people who you surround yourself with, who have the opportunity to think with you about what you're doing and how you're utilizing your resources, how you utilize your time, how you utilize people, how you utilize ideas, and how you spend your money during the course of the campaign. So people that help you think, and then people that help carry out what you think about the campaign and actually act, and then finally those who actually deliver the campaign message. In many instances, that's going to be you, and it's going to be members of your family, and it's going to be members of your team. But in addition to that, it's going to be countless people who care about the future of your state and care about the future of the country, who have invested their time and energy and will invest their time and energy because of their concern in you as a candidate. And so you want to be able to live up to what it is that people believe, and you want to be able to motivate them to be a part of your team. So organization is the second thing. The third is, I touched on this as one of the resources, is adequate finance. I mean, part of it is that campaigns are hard and campaigns can be expensive. Now, my greatest story when I was doing local election campaigning back in the 70s, 100,000 years ago, I think there was still the Ice Age, but I'm not positive. We were making contributions from the Republican National Committee to legislative candidates around the country. And my favorite story happened in Vermont, actually, just next door here. And we were giving a candidate for the State House $250. And at the end of the campaign, he sent us back the change. He wrote down, this is the gas that I purchased for the trips that I made for the campaign. I spent $173 on gas, and you get $73 back. Thank you for your contribution. Now, adequate finances for the campaign depends on what the campaign is, but it has to be adequate enough that when voters are going to make their choice before in the polling place, that they know, number one, that there's an election, number two, whether you're running in a multiple candidate district or you're running in a single district, of who the candidates are, and that somehow your individual campaign is different than the rest of the people who are on the field, so that they feel compelled to want to vote for you. Now, that requires that you get some kind of message across to them. A lot of it you can do with shoe leather and knocking on doors. A lot of it you can do at meet and greets. A lot of it you can do in other kinds of ways. But you may very well, and you'll hear about this in the next panel, actually have to spend some money on mail, on signs, and on other materials that can raise your both name awareness and increase an image and carry a message to the voters about you specifically. So adequate finance, and I'm not saying that you have to have the most money, I'm not saying that you have to outspend everybody, but you do have to have enough to implement a campaign plan that gets your message in front of the voters. The other thing, of course, that can be very useful here is that if people are feeling particularly good about Republicans as opposed to Democrats, and you get the straight ticket vote, that's a useful thing and can be a helpful thing as well, especially in your multi-member district. But part of that, again, depends on being able to utilize your name and get it out there among the voters. The fourth key element is a believable contrast between the candidates. That means people don't trade in one set of office holders for another if they don't think there's any difference between them. So part of your responsibility is to make sure that people understand what the contrast is. To make that easier for you in the book, I have put down and listed about 15 or 20 contrasts that are often used in political campaigns. They're pretty obvious. Young versus old, liberal versus conservative, hack versus citizen, I mean, all of those kinds of things, because what you're trying to do during the course of the campaign is to be able to communicate to voters that in this election there is some difference between me and my opponent. And if you choose me, your life is somehow going to be better because we're going to have gotten government off your back, or we're going to have gotten lower taxes, or we're going to be more efficient in what we do, or we're going to have a better or more secure future for our children. But somehow what you are trying to convey during the course of the campaign, is that you are different from your opponent in a positive way for your voters, or those who are most likely to vote for you, and that their life will be better as a result of that vote, which is the kind of the equation that you're putting together politically. And then the fifth key element is to have some base of support to run from in the first place. Winning campaigns do not rise like phoenix out of the ashes. There is some rock upon which they are built. And the reason that there's a rock upon which they are built, or necessary to be built upon, is because that's where people are going to come from, that's where ideas are going to come from, that's where money is going to come from. So 3 of the 4 resources that you have in a campaign are actually going to come from the base of support. That base can be geographic, that base can be demographic, or that base can be ideological. I mean, there are lots of different things that cause people to want to vote for other people. It might be it's our neighborhood's chance to have a representative, so we should. It's a geographic kind of thing. It could be this candidate shares the same set of ideas, economically, socially, or otherwise, and therefore I'm going to support him. So you have a base of support that comes from that. Or it might be, I'm a candidate who is different demographically from the person that we currently have holding this office, and so therefore it's our turn, and you should vote for me because of that. And you're going to have some kind of tie in a base of support that's going to cause you to generate both volunteers and ideas and money. So those are the 5 key elements.